Welcome to Sakshi TV's special immigration talk show with attorney Ms. Prashanthi Reddy. I'm Preeti Mulbagal, your host for the show. Ms. Prashanthi Reddy is an accomplished attorney with an experience of over 17 years, and she is listed in the Forbes magazine as one of the best immigration lawyers in New York. She was voted as a super lawyer and is listed in the marquee who's who of 2024-25. She was recognized by the American Institute of Legal Counsel as one of the 10 best immigration attorneys in New York. And she is also involved in the pro bono work. Ms. Prashanthi Reddy, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thanks, Preeti.
So, today's topic, as we have been seeing recent issues that have been concerning the F1 international students and their visas, especially probably due to the visa policy changes and the administrative delays. So would you be able to give us why the F1 visa appointments were paused between May and June 2025?
Yeah, so there was a pause from May 27th. On May 27th, the State Department ordered all consulates to temporarily halt the scheduling of visas for all new students, that is F1s, M1s, J1s, all student categories. They were not giving any appointments. This pause, they said it was to allow them so that they could implement the enhanced vetting protocols, because as per the Trump's executive order, he had asked for certain protocols to be implemented for student visas. So in order to implement those and come up with a system, I guess, they halted all visa appointments. And then recently, on June 18th, the pause was lifted and the consulates resumed scheduling interviews. But of course, now the new interviews will be with new vetting measures and more enhanced vetting procedures.
So before we go deep into what the procedures are and why it has been done and what the protocols are, could you explain a little bit about the visas that you mentioned, F, M, and J?
So F is the student visa. Most people come on an F1 visa. J1 is an exchange visa. It's an exchange program. This is a special visa category. Usually requires a 2-year home country requirement before you can actually extend it. So you come on a J1 for a certain period of time, and you're supposed to go back and stay outside the country or in your home country for 2 years before you can again extend your J1. So most J1s have that restriction, and J1s are mostly used by doctors. A lot of people who are coming for residency, doctors who are coming for residency, they come on a J1 visa. And in order to file a waiver, that is, if you don't want to go back to your home country and stay there for 2 years, then you can file a waiver by working in, underserved areas. So that's the J. The M1 is the exchange, the vocational student. So vocational is basically they're learning a trade or a vocation. It's not necessarily just classroom experience like it is for the F1. So that's the difference between the J, M, and F.
They're allowed to work as well in this country?
The F is allowed to work, the J is allowed to work, and M, as far as I know, is not allowed to work. There's no OPT, CPT for them, as far as I know.
Okay. So what kind of the online activity you were mentioning about for that will be reviewed now?
So they're going to have a comprehensive vetting of all online presence and social media presence when they call you for the interview. So all J, F, and M, both new and renewals, people who are applying for an extension of their visa, they're now subject to enhanced screening of their social media profile and also their other online activity. So applicants will be required to make their social media accounts public, so consular officers can review the content of their social media and they're looking for anything that indicates anti-US sentiment, support for violence, support for terrorism, anti-Semitism, or any other kind of political activity. It's a very, very broad language, unfortunately, and anything that is against the present administration, they can say that it's political activism, right? So that's a little scary. So I suggest that F1 students, they're not citizens, they don't have the right to vote. So you're better off keeping your political opinions
Views
to
to
yourself.
yourself.
Yes, please don't put it on. I mean, we just have to be practical here. It's not about what is correct or what is not. Obviously, it's not correct, but because there's so many issues here, right to privacy issues, and the other problem is this can be used if it's used correctly. There's no problem, but the language is so broad that it can be used in so many ways to just deny student visas uh, just on a whim, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
because it's such a broad, the language is so broad. You can call anything political activism. I understand terrorism, I understand violence, I understand all that, but just by saying political activism or anti-US sentiment, what does that mean? Is it against the US government or is it against the United States as a country? You know, if it's against the US government, you're totally allowed to do that. In fact, in a democracy, you're supposed to do that, right? So,
Absolutely.
by preventing this and putting all that language in, you're kind of opening it up for denials left, right, and center. And also, officers might also capture screenshots for their records containing anything that they think is, justifiable for them to refuse the visa. But having said all that, a visa, F1 visa can be denied for no substantive reason. They can just say that, oh, you don't have the intent to come back to the US, to your home country. So we think you have, therefore we are, denying your visa on the basis of 214B intent. And they do that for most people, and there's no real reason to show as to why they think they don't have intent, right? So having said that, I think now visas denials will be much more because they have another added reason to deny. Even though they don't really need a reason to deny, they can just give any reason and deny it because there's no appeal process and there's nobody to oversee the denials and to overrule those denials. So they can deny anyway, but this is just an additional tool in their arsenal. And you can expect more harassment, and more denials.
Right. So this also curtails their freedom of speech as well. You cannot call it a democracy anymore.
It does, but to certain instances it may not. It depends on how they use it. It's all
Mhm,
now in the usage, but the language is really bad because
mhm.
it lends to usage which could be undemocratic.
Mhm.
And everyone has the right to express their opinions if they do it in a peaceful way, whether it be citizens or non-citizens.
Sure.
So the
So
freedoms
do
are
I,
definitely affected.
Mhm. So do I have to attend an interview for my visa renewal now?
Yeah, so now if you are going for a renewal as of February 18, 2025, interview waivers, so Dropbox interviews are more limited. Applicants will only be eligible if their previous visa was issued 12 months ago, and even then, and that is down from 48 months. And even that, is discretionary. So even if your visa expired only 12 months ago, you could still be called in for an appointment, and the present administration is doing extreme vetting, so most probably this reduces automatic renewals
Mhm.
and increases in-person interviews for sure.
Okay. And the security requirements remain the same?
Yeah, I mean, everything else remains the same. We just added um, scrutiny. So they will
Okay.
look at intent. They will make sure there was no immigration fraud. They'll make sure that you were never, unlawfully present or violated your previous status. They'll also make sure that you've never violated your immigration status in any way, or that you have not committed any crime. So they'll look at all that, and they always do, but they'll just look at it now, I think, with additional scrutiny.
Okay. With these administrative delays, how long are the visa processing? Is the visa processing expected to last?
Now with delays and denials, we can expect longer processing times due to the expanded vetting. We don't know how long a visa appointment will last if they have to look through all this. But certainly if they find something that is questioning, they might just deny the visa and let it go into administrative processing because they want to do further investigation into the person's social, into their activities. And then that could take 6 months, it could take 1 year if it goes into administrative processing. And then it could ultimately get denied. So there will definitely be delay in the processing times because now they have to do additional vetting and they have to look at additional things.
Okay. And in what case, in a case where the student's service record is denied due to suspected non-compliance, what steps should the designated school officials take? Are there
Well,
any,
for
is there
service
any formal
denials,
process?
right, for service denials, it really depends on if we're talking about the recent spate of CVIS denials and visa revocations, that was done by ICE with a heavy hand, just looking at anyone who was arrested for any reason, whether they were convicted or not. They were just sending out CVIS denials. That's very unusual. It's never been done before. Usually, CVIS revocations are done by the DSO, and usually the DSO will revoke the CVIS if you have not maintained status, if you have not maintained your full coursework of study, or if you failed classes, or if you have not attended classes. The particular reasons why they revoke CVIS, and those are the usual reasons, not for anti-Semitism or expressing of political view or taking part in any demonstrations, or that because you're arrested for some reason. That is, the DSO never gets involved in that and never revokes CVIS for that reason. But if we are talking about the recent spate of CVIS revocations from ICE, which ICE never revokes a CVIS, that is usually the DSO that does that. But if we're talking about that, I mean, luckily, because of all the lawsuits that were filed, the government has gone back on its position and has stepped back and has said that they will no longer terminate CVISs, and they've in fact reinstated most of the CVISs that they've terminated. So if you do get a CVIS termination, check with your DSO if it can be reinstated. Try to transfer it to a different school if possible. If the CVIS record has not been closed, definitely do not leave the country immediately unless CVIS was terminated by your DSO because you didn't maintain status, etc. Then you might want to transfer schools and try to reinstate your status.
Okay. So what legal recourse exists if a CVIS denial results in a loss of F1 status, especially if the DSO believes that the record was accurate and compliant with regulations?
Well, file a lawsuit. That's what hundreds of students did. That's the best recourse. File a lawsuit in federal court against the CVIS terminations, because CVIS terminations that take place have to be done after giving you some kind of opportunity to respond. If they're doing the termination without any response, without giving you information as to why it was terminated, then that is, against the rule of law. And on that basis, you can, file a lawsuit in court.
Okay. Okay. So, can they be denied a visa based on the social media post?
Yeah, they can definitely be denied based on that. And I mean, what you should do to make sure that these cases are not denied is make sure that you take the proper precautions before you go for an appointment. But in general, yes, posts can deny based on the fact that maybe your social media shows that you're promoting violence, criticizing US policies, or you're showing some kind of political activism, you're doing change.com, or you've signed in for something. These are 221G refusals, or you could have a 221G administrative hold, or you could have a complete denial under Section 212. So if in doubt, make sure you delete or you explain your controversial post before you apply for your student visa.
Okay, they do have an out in that case. So even if they were past posts, old ones, so they can always provide an explanation. So which could serve as
You can, but whether they will accept it or not is a different scenario. If they've decided to deny your visa, they'll just deny it anyway, no matter what explanation you give.
Okay. So what is happening with the Harvard's F1 visa ban?
Just before that, I just wanted to say that if there is some reason to prioritize, like urgent cases, I think the consulate is now prioritizing. You did say that because of the delays, how long will it take, etc. But there are delays, but some consulates are prioritizing students with an urgent start date. So if they have to start in August, they definitely need their visa before that. So they might prioritize those visas and approve them faster. But if you have a later start date, maybe they'll take their own time. And of course, if you are high risk for some reason, then they'll just send you into administrative processing, which can take even 6 months, sometimes even a year, sometimes longer. But to answer your question about what's happening with Harvard, basically the present administration passed an executive order to temporarily stop all foreign students coming to Harvard. They have not done anything with the current foreign students that are presently in Harvard. But after that, Harvard then filed a lawsuit, and I think the federal judge overturned this executive order, Trump's executive order, with reference to stopping Harvard from getting foreign students. So that's the status right now. I think the administration will appeal, but as of now, to my knowledge, the federal judge has overturned the executive order and has paused the the hold on Harvard getting foreign students.
But why
But we have to wait
Harvard?
and see what happens, because there'll be, most probably there'll be an appeal. So we have to wait and see what happens there.
Could you give us a reason, like why Harvard, why this was done? Only for Harvard, and or are there any other universities that are affected?
Well, it's only Harvard because Harvard is resisting the present administration. The present administration asked Harvard to give some records to if basically follow protocols that they set down with reference to what's allowed and what's not allowed on their campus. And Harvard resisted that because they said it was they had the freedom to conduct their affairs in the way they chose fit, and because of that, there's a huge rift between Harvard and the present administration, and the administration is trying to get back at Harvard in any way possible. They're trying to remove their non-profit status and make them pay taxes as a for-profit institution. They have put bans on foreign students. They're trying to stop Harvard from getting foreign students. And they're doing a whole bunch of other things also, other than looking at their IRS status and to see whether they're paying taxes or not. They've stopped all federal funding. I hear in the last few days, Harvard is again come back to the table and is negotiating, because no one
Mhm.
can win against the federal government, right? No matter what, how
True.
powerful you are. And Harvard has a lot of money and is very powerful, but even they cannot win against the federal government. So I guess they're trying to negotiate a settlement.
Mhm.
Let's see what happens. So that's why they targeted the foreign students coming to Harvard. And 30% of their students are foreign students. So that is a big hit on their finances.
True. Very true. So, is it safe for the student to leave the country and return on the same visa?
Well, travel is risky on the whole this year. If your visa is still valid, you may come back. But if you get flagged at your at the port of entry, then you might be taken in for secondary inspection. And then if you're taken in for that secondary inspection, then your social media will be looked at, and then they will check to see, what's in there, etc., like what we discussed. And in some instances, and if you violated your status or they find something that they don't like in your social media, or they might check your emails, they'll check your laptop, they'll check your text messages. It's not just social media. They might stop you from coming in and remove you from the country immediately. So, especially if you belong to, you're especially at risk of traveling if you belong to one of the banned countries, Sudan, Iran, Cuba, and so many other countries.
Mhm.
Then if you leave, you won't be able to come back. So you shouldn't. If you've posted political opinions online, if you're politically active, then you shouldn't be traveling. If your CVS record, there was some issues with your CVS record, if there was some CPT, OPT confusion, if you were ever had any issues with USCIS, these people are at risk if they travel.
Okay. So, how often are the CVIS data errors the cause of denial or terminations of status?
That happens more often than we would like it to happen. Oftentimes, the DSO doesn't do something, whatever they're supposed to do, and then the CVIS gets terminated and the person falls out of status, and then it's not easy to reinstate their CVIS. Then they have to file an entire reinstatement application, and sometimes those are refused by USCIS. Even if they're not refused, it takes so long for them to get reinstated that certain things are time bound, such as they have to file for OPT or CPT within a certain period of time, and if they don't do that, especially OPT, STEM OPT, then they lose their opportunity to even get OPT. So yes, CVIS CVIS terminations due to errors do happen more often than we would want them to.
Okay. Okay. So, in this case, what should I do to protect my status?
Well, first of all, keep all your documents updated, your I-20s, CVITs, your passport. Make sure you know when your visa is expiring. So keep all your documents ready. Make sure all your I-20s are signed. Make sure you're going with a university that has a good reputation and has not got into any kind of trouble with ICE or USCIS in the past. That is, it's not blacklisted. Make sure that they, of course, uh, are accredited and are able to issue I-20s. So you can go and check online if they're accredited by the proper agencies. We've heard so many instances, right? At least a few instances which came to light where the universities were not even conducting classes and they were issuing I-20s. And then so many students got into trouble because of that. So anyway, avoid those circumstances by doing your homework. Review and of course clean up your social media. Consult with your DSO, your designated student officer, before you travel, just to make sure that all your records and CVIS, everything is updated. Avoid overstaying. You cannot overstay once your I-94 is expired or once you complete your student status, you should not overstay without actually filing some kind of extension to change your status. You cannot work, avoid unauthorized work completely. These are very strictly enforced, so you can't work at a gas station or in a Dunkin' Donut while you're a student. And if they find out through your social media, through your email, through WhatsApp, or anywhere, or any papers that you're carrying, you show some pay stubs showing unauthorized work. I mean, it comes out somehow or the other, right? Because now everything is done through email and text.
True.
You may be reporting to work, you may be communicating with your employer. So please
Mhm.
don't indulge in unauthorized work as a student. And then again, last but not the least, document everything. Keep records of your travel, your course enrollment, your job offers, letters for your OPT, CPT, proof that you're actually working if you're on OPT, CPT, your work schedules, your pay stubs, experience letters, etc., etc. Keep everything with you when you're traveling, and of course, don't give them all that information if they're not asking for it, but submit it on request. But keep all the information that with you handy in case they ask for it.
Mhm. Okay, that makes sense. Yes. So, what are the alternatives if the visa gets delayed or denied?
If your student visa gets denied, then ask if you can still continue your course remotely. Maybe you went for an extension, you're in the middle of your semester, your visa gets denied. Ask your school if they will allow you to, remotely continue your credits, complete your credits so that you can then get a degree. Defer admission by a semester. So if there's a delay in getting your visa, you're not able to go back on time for your next semester, then maybe you can defer your semester and take it a little later. If you're not able to get a visa, F1 visa to travel to the US as a student, you can maybe apply in Canada, UK, or Australia, or these other countries where they're much more reasonable in issuing visas because they don't have this extreme vetting.
Mhm.
And maybe you can try reapplying from another country where the consular processing is faster, where you can get faster dates for interview dates, and maybe where they will not be as strict as if you're from India. The officers are very strict. Maybe you can go to a different country where the officers are not that strict, maybe somewhere in Europe, etc. So
Right.
those are the alternatives that you have.
Very, very good. Thank you so much, Ms. Prashanthi, for giving us all the valuable information for the students. And students, make sure what all have been given, the inputs have been given to you, are followed properly, especially with the social media before applying. Vet it and prepare your social media audit, and then check your waiver eligibility, and then monitor the consulate availability. So all these things you need to take care of. So thank you so much, Ms. Prashanthi, for providing your time on the show. Have a great day.